I am Ray, and I don't know if you knew this, but every time you shift to a higher timeline, trouble is coming for those cheeks. Get ready. Today in class, we are going to go over what you need to do to prepare so you don't fall back into old timelines. And so you know what to do when the chaos comes. You see, I had this revelation today. Because lately I've been, reprogramming my unconscious mind. And today I woke up at 3 a.m. Usually don't wake up at 3 a.m. Usually wake up sometime during the night after dreaming. But I couldn't go back to sleep. I felt like, okay, well, something's changed. Clearly, I've had some success in some way. We'll see. But I noticed, and even just lately in general, that there has been more chaotic thoughts, more negative feelings, old identities coming back from the past. And there was a part of me, on the surface that was like, wait a minute, I'm more advanced than this. Why am I dealing with this? I should be pure. Why am I not pure? So I doused myself in hand sanitizer and spent the next 3 hours crying. Okay, that didn't actually happen. Or did it? No. What? Did it? No. Here's what actually happened. I ended up going to the gym. Just started my day early. And of course, every time you exercise, you always get some clarity. So, eventually, I became aware of, it starts to make sense. Because when you're in the emotions of the moment, we all make mistakes in the heat of passion, Jumbo. We can forget the truth. We can forget all of the things we think we know, and only when we can take a few steps back do we get clarity. Because deep down, I've already known this. I've already expected it multiple times, gone through the situation, but it's just funny how the emotions grip your cheeks and make you forget everything. So I realized that when one shifts timelines, the old patterns arise for you to let go of, because the old patterns are no longer in harmony with your new life. And in order for you to fully step into that new life, the old parts have to go away. And you have a choice every time you do this. You can either feed the old identity, feed the old patterns, and fall back down. You're not quite ready yet. Or you can let it go. You become aware of what's going on, and you just persist. Think about it this way. Let's say this is a big mountain. You like mountains? Me too. And let's say you're climbing this mountain, and you got a big bag of rocks on your shoulders. And you're trying to climb up the mountain. And on this level right here, there's a gate or something. And there's a little troll here that says, hey, you cannot pass unless you give me some of your rocks. I like rocks. Give me them. Or else you're not getting through. I promise you that. And so you walk up. You got to pay the troll toll. And you either say, okay, here, have some of my rocks. This one's cool. Or you say, no, this one's cool. I want to keep it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to let go of these rocks. Not yet. So you stay stuck down on this level. Now, fundamentally, the rocks serve no purpose, but we are in this, psychological rigmarole of, well, I want to keep my rocks. I like my burdens. I like my attachments. Even though they're creating all of this suffering, I like them. I don't want to give them up. So the troll says, okay, well, you shall not pass. Get out of here. Be gone from me. And you'll stay stuck on that level until you make the effort to go back up again. Now, what will this look like? Let's say you want to step into your highest abundance. The troll says, okay, give me some of your lack and scarcity rocks. And you say, well, Life throws at you some situation that says, hey, look at all this lack and scarcity that you're living. And you get to decide, well, am I going to continue reinforcing that old story? Or am I going to say, maybe my life isn't falling apart. Maybe it's falling into place. You keep your vibrations high, so to speak. You don't allow the negativity to get you. As it said, it's not the water around the boat that sinks it. It's the water that gets in. It's not the negativity around you that is the problem. It's the negativity that you allow in. So as soon as you start doing better, you start saving money, you start working on your credit or whatever, you might get some bill in the mail, something unexpected. Oh no, just when I was trying to do all the things right, now life comes and does this to me. How dare you, life? And we don't realize that life is actually helping us. It's giving us the opportunity to choose who we want to be moving forward. And a lot of people choose the negativity. Because think about it, if I'm trying really hard to get something, and then there's this big roadblock in the way of getting it, well, I see the roadblock as a problem. I don't see it as an opportunity. Because I'm so attached to my desire. I just want what I want. But the roadblock is blocking me from what I want. So it's a problem. Not realizing that the way you deal with the roadblock when it arises determines whether or not you are worthy of getting what you want. You can move around it. You can bang your head up against the wall until it breaks. Or you can give up, turn the other way. Oh, it's not for me. Rationalize it. Sacrifice your dreams on the altar of practicality. Live a life of mediocrity. It's a beggar. It's not about what happens to you. It's all about how you respond to life. You can respond in positive ways, in negative ways. And that determines basically the quality of everything. For example, if you respond to negativity positively, well then it doesn't matter what kind of negativity enters into your life. You always overcome. But you can react to a positive situation with negativity and ruin everything. Somebody said a long time ago, I think his name was Milton. Not Melton, like ice cream. Milton. He said the mind can make a hell out of heaven and a heaven out of hell. Because reality is being experienced in our mind. It's not about what happens. It's about our interpretation, our perspective, our mindset, our attitude. So we want to get in this mindset of realizing that when life starts to fall apart, it's not a problem. It's an opportunity. When life isn't going our way, it's a sign that's saying, hey, time to choose. Who do you want to be? Do you want to keep dealing with all of this nonsense, or do you want to rise above it? Because the more you get entangled with the garbage, all the negativity, the more it keeps you stuck. But the more you use that as an opportunity to reinforce your new identity, well then you transmute that darkness into light. It has no power over you anymore. Because the moment the negativity comes, you're like, oh, well, way. I was trying to say yay, but I said way. What else? What other word was I thinking of? I weigh. You are Mexican for this example. And if you think about it practically, every time something you don't want happens, it's the perfect opportunity to reaffirm what you do want. Because not everybody knows what they want, but most people know what they don't want. But all you got to do, take another step and realize that, well, what you want is just the opposite of what you don't want. So when you don't want powering down. Beep, beep, beep. Recharged. Yes. Sorry I short-circuited. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. Too much coffee, perhaps? You see, to the degree that you have changed is in direct proportion to the degree in which you change your response. Remember that quote that says, a man never steps into the same river twice because it is not the same man and it is not the same river? So too, we're doing this all the time. It's like you engage in some addiction, some self-destructive behavior, let's say, and you think that you engaged in it twice or 3 times or 5,000 times. It's not true. Every time you repeat that pattern of behavior, you are fundamentally different. You're not the same individual as you were last time. So it's not the same behavior. It's not the same addiction. So you don't need to become, perfect overnight. You just need to stop reacting so much in the old way. Because every time you react in a new way, you just shift a little bit higher and a little bit higher until you make these quantum leaps, and the old patterns have no power over you anymore. So you might say, well, I thought I was over this. Why am I dealing with this still? Spent all this time doing the inner child healing. But the fact is, you're experiencing, let's say, the same problem from a different perspective. So therefore, it's not the same problem. And the quicker you can radically change your response to whatever it is that is happening to you, most likely negative, the quicker you shift into a new reality in a new identity. It's like if you've ever wanted to overcome an addiction, the simplest way is to start reacting to it in a positive, helpful way, instead of a self-destructive way. Because that is what people do. They ruminate on all the shame and the guilt and why am I doing this and this sucks and I hate my life and psychological drama. Go watch a soap opera, for God's sake. But when you can realize that that problem is in your life for a reason, specifically for your highest spiritual growth, well then you immediately transmute that darkness into light. You transmute that problem into an opportunity. It becomes the next stepping stone to your best life and not an obstacle to it. But if we do not reframe our attitude toward life, well, nothing's going to change. Now, if you are into this idea of shifting timelines, you probably have some clear idea of who you want to become, which is necessary. You got to have it. You can't enter into your dream life if you aren't living intentionally. If you're not clear about who you want to become and the things that you desire in this life, the things that you want. Because how do you know what to reinforce and how do you know what to push away? For example, if you're just someone living their life and you don't have any higher purpose of or higher intention of becoming rich or becoming abundant, right? Well then, when lack and scarcity thoughts arise, there's gonna be nothing to say, no, I don't want these thoughts. These thoughts are not aligned with me. So you're gonna accept them, and you're gonna stay stuck in a life you don't like. It's one of the biggest reasons why people are not successful in life. They're not clear about where they are going. They're just wandering, drifting through life. So, when you're trying to shift into a new life, you gotta at least have some general idea of what you want in order for it to manifest in your life. Otherwise, it's just gonna be kind of random. Random things are gonna be happening. But more importantly, when the chaos comes, when the trouble arises, you have to know that that stuff is aligned with the old identity. It's not aligned with you now. It doesn't matter if it comes up or not, because it's irrelevant to you. It's like if I told you, hey, I don't like your purple hair, weirdo, but you didn't have purple hair, well then the words wouldn't mean anything to you. Or if I offended you in a language you don't understand, I spoke Spanish or Russian, it doesn't mean anything, right? So too, when you're clear about who you are, you can have negative thoughts about whatever, and it doesn't affect you because they aren't relevant to the identity that you have chosen. But if you have not chosen an identity, when the thoughts come, it's like you not knowing the color of your hair. Oh, maybe my hair is purple. Maybe I am weird. Because you don't know who you are, or you don't know who you want to be. So for example, the old you struggled with an addiction. The addiction arises again because it's got energy, it's got momentum. When you respond to that addiction, by not reacting to it, by just saying, oh, okay, whatever, move on, no psychological drama needed, focus on where you're going, stop wrestling with the past, well then your system knows, hey, they're no longer reacting to this pattern of behavior. Or simply put, you're just not feeding it anymore. Whereas when you wrestle with it, you're giving it your energy, you're making the attachment stronger, which is why people stay stuck in addictions their whole life. But it's the same thing with any pattern of behavior or any thought. The old lack and scarcity thoughts might arise, but it doesn't matter. You're aligned with abundance now. It's not relevant to you. But if you struggle with them, if you fight with them, no, I can't be having this, well, then you're reaffirming, oh, I don't really know who I am. So you stay stuck in the past. When the bill in the mail comes and you react negatively, oh no, this is not good, you reinforce the old identity and push away the new life. So just switch. Gotta learn how to not react. Feed the new identity. Use it as an opportunity to remind yourself of the life that you are now living, which is aligned with what you want. Literally, the secret to success is just focus on what you want and take your attention away from what you don't want. And don't be a realist about it, because there's billions of pieces of evidence of all kinds of different things happening all the time. If you focus on the evidence that reaffirms your old identity, you will feed it your energy, your creative power. So you will give life to the old identity, it will possess you, you'll stay stuck, aligned with that. But the moment you take your attention away from it, well, guess what? It's got no more juice. You've stolen its juice. So it can't feed on your energy anymore. Therefore, it dies on its own. The best way to become free of any unwanted behavior or any unwanted thoughts is simply to starve it, which means you're no longer fighting it. What you resist persists because you feed it your energy. You give it tension. You further reinforce this negative attachment. But when you put your guns down, you stop fighting this inner war with yourself, well, now this psychological drama has nothing to feed off of. And when it has nothing to feed off of, it begins losing its power over you. So you don't feel the need to reinforce it anymore. Whereas for some time, it may feel impossible to resist feeding those old patterns because they have so much power. So you just gotta, over time, day by day, stop feeding the old stories, the old identities, the old patterns, and continue reinforcing the new ones. And life, it seems like it's a test, where life puts these things, the old patterns arise, right? Like the troll, and in that moment you have a decision to make. And sometimes you gotta bump your head against that wall 1,000 times for you to finally break through, because those attachments are so strong. But the key is non-reaction. The key is detachment, because non-attachment is freedom. So those stories can no longer grip you and pull you all over the place. It cannot be done, because you enter into the state of neutrality. But in order to do that, you have to let go of your identity with these certain beliefs and certain patterns and certain stories. Because if I have the identity of I really want to be rich and make a lot of money, if I'm super attached to that identity, then anything that comes into conflict with that will grip my attention and force me to focus on it. That's how our system works. You have a selective focus in which you can only focus on things that are relevant to your identity. So, the key is, you have to desire the new life, while at the same time being not attached to it. Because if you're too attached to it, it also means that the old life is going to grip your attention. You're going to say, well, no, I don't want this. I don't want this. This is what you don't want. This is what you want. But if you so desperately want this, well, you can't help but not wanting that. But when you're neutral, when you're indifferent about it, but you can still say, okay, this is what I want. Well, now the old patterns, they lose their energetic charge, because that is what neutrality does. It neutralizes the charge, and it enters you into a state of abundance. Because think about it, the version of you that already has what you want It's not strongly attached to that desire. It's normal. It's neutral. But for this version, the old patterns, or the old identity, it really, really wants change. It really, really wants to get out of its situation. So the more you allow this desperation energy to fill you up, the more you align with the old self. Let us quickly review how we shift timelines in the first place. So, just some fundamentals. Just pretend, at least, that everything is energy. And energy is frequency and vibration. Vibration is the literal waves of energy, and frequency is the rate of those waves. Now, the faster the energy vibrates, the higher vibe you are, and the closer you are to heaven. You can say heaven is the highest vibration, and hell is the lowest. If you wanted to give these things values, you could just say 0 and infinity, right? And we exist somewhere along this spectrum. And along this spectrum is infinite potential. Should have wrote that down. Infinite potential. And you know you have potential. So this idea of an infinite array of different versions of you, all living different experiences in different realities, it's really not that crazy. They exist as potential. But you are living reality in the present moment in actuality. Like a funnel. Right here, present moment, little dot. And here's this potential getting funneled down into the present moment. You see how it's going like that? It's like a field of vision. Imagine like a flashlight. And you got 360 degrees. You can turn around and you can flash your flashlight in any direction you want. You can flash it toward heaven, you can flash it toward hell, depending on what you're focused on, right? Make sense? Meaning, the potential that you are focused on gets funneled down into the present moment and actualizes as your current experience. So, for example, if you're focusing on negativity all the time, if you're struggling with problems, if you're always in lack and scarcity, you're focusing downward. You're focusing your flashlight on all the things that are wrong in life. And so all of the hell things, all of the potential realities, or the potential terrible things that are aligned with hell, they start funneling down into your present moment and start actualizing. So too, when you focus on the good, what is positive, you start funneling in positive experiences. Now that's one way of looking at it. Now on the sea of potential, this is where the timelines are, and they're infinite in variety. And this is the problem that most people face, is that they're on these lower hell realm timelines, and they try to deal with the problems that they experience. But that doesn't work, because you're just keeping yourself stuck on the same timeline. This is also why we feel like problems come in packs. Because in this lower timeline, there are just endless problems. And what happens is that when a problem arises, you react to it negatively, and it causes you to fall down. You shift downward into a reality where there are just more problems. Then you get stuck in this feedback loop of negativity. Feel worse, think worse, down, down, down you go until you're in hell. And a lot of people don't know how to get out of it. But that's because people who live from their senses alone will always be a slave to their circumstances. There's nothing they can do because they're focusing on the evidence that is before them. And if the evidence is not good, it's going to make them feel not good, think bad, lower their energy toward hell. You don't want to struggle with your problems. They're irrelevant. If anything, they're helping guide you toward the areas in your life that you need to address. Ways that you are falling short. So we all have what is called an energetic signature. And your energetic signature is just the quality of your energy, which is the quality of your perpetual thoughts and your perpetual feelings. And this energetic signature is your point of attraction. It determines where you are on this spectrum. And as you start managing your energy, you start being a high vibe person. Well, all the low vibe stuff in you has to be gotten rid of first. So you rise to a higher timeline. And then things happen. Like you start getting negative thoughts, or you start experiencing problems. Chaos, things start to fall apart. Because, well, the old reality, the old timeline is falling apart. It's dying. And change and death is always painful. And in that moment, you can either fall back down or continue to persist by changing how you respond when those things arise. Once you realize that, well, it's actually a good thing that these are happening, it completely changes your energy and prevents you from falling down. Because you know that things never fall apart, but they always fall into place. In order for the new world to be born, the old one has to die. So too, the new self-identity, in order for that to be born, the old identity has to die. We just don't like change and death. So we have to reframe our attitude toward these things. And you rise into a feedback loop of positivity once you learn how to transmute this darkness, transmute this negativity into positivity, because the negativity is the only thing that can bring you down. Once you master that, what's going to bring you down? Nothing. It's not possible. And that's just a practice you got to go through. It's a skill you build up. Probably the highest return on investment skill you will ever learn, because the chaos energy is the force of destruction. It is the only thing that can destroy you. So once you master that, well, nothing can destroy you anymore. Even if you still struggle with addictions and self-destructive behavior, it's no longer the same addiction. It's a stepping stone for your highest spiritual growth. It's not a problem to be solved. It's just a curriculum of Earth school. It's your homework, because that's literally all it is. It's just life trying to teach you a lesson. Not even necessarily like specifically. It's just life is expressing a kind of imbalance in you. Some attachment, some trauma. And as you become more aware of what life is telling you, hey, pay attention. There's something going on with you here. Time to learn. The more we can become aware of the lessons that life is trying to teach us, the quicker we can be free and move on. But if we get stuck in our psychological drama, woe is me, this sucks, well, you're going to continue repeating the same patterns over and over again until you learn. There's no escaping it. Because those attachments in you are keeping you tethered to these lower timelines, and you cannot ascend without first dealing with them and letting them go. So whenever the chaos arises, the old patterns that you thought you were done with, it's time to rejoice. Way, because it means you are doing something right. It means the doorway to your new life has been opened. And now you get to decide whether or not you walk through. And if you're ready to transform your life, check out the Spiritual Rebels community. Much peace and many blessings. And remember, just be.